Now see,
They get it with a tough series. Both clubs riding each other, doing everything to get each other stuff.
a time with art.
Good. Welcome to Time with Art. This morning we have Professor Jon Smith, Dr. Smith. We work together in the communication department and have for years, and so I thought it would be great to have him on the program. And so this is live on KSUU and will be posted later on YouTube. So welcome, Jon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and be in this great radio station.
Well, this is a real up-tempo from where we started out, up in the old museum.
Yep.
And at the bottom of the parking lot in that old building they tore down.
Right there. Wow.
Well, trace a little bit your how you ended up here. I know you spent a lot of time in Hawaii growing up.
Okay.
And how did you get to Utah?
So I was born in Arizona, grew up in Hawaii, son of a veterinarian. My dad was a veterinarian and a cattle rancher, and my mom was a intermediate science school teacher.
Uh-huh.
And then so we were in Arizona and we packed up and moved to Hawaii. So I basically grew up in Hawaii, and then went to college here on the mainland, and ended up working for doing some communication skills at BYU Provo, and got an internship in Washington, D.C., a competitive internship working for KSL and at the time Cairo TV in Seattle, Washington. So I was a White House press photographer and I'd run around Washington, D.C. And as a broadcaster, I proudly say, in broadcasting, you work your way from small markets to large markets. And I proudly say I worked my way from Washington, D.C. to New Harmony, Utah. And
a little backwards.
But as a photographer, at one point I had to make the choice of whether I would continue taking pictures of talking heads and politicians, or KSL gave me the opportunity to open a Southern Utah bureau here in Cedar City. And so as a photographer, of course, I wanted to take pictures of national parks and more feature stories and things like that. And so in '85, we moved to Cedar City, and I was still working for KSL Television. And the only way to get a signal from Cedar City to Salt Lake at the time was either to put the videotapes on SkyWest Airlines and fly it up, or use the SUSC before SUU EdNet link, microwave link, bounce it all the way mountaintops all the way up to Salt Lake. And so, and to SUSC's or SUU's credit at the time, they said, we don't want KSL to pay for that. We want you to adjunct to teach a class. And so beginning in '85, I was teaching some classes for the communication department in exchange for using their microwave system to send stories to Salt Lake. And that got me introduced to higher education, and I enjoyed teaching. And so eventually I ended up quitting KSL and got a master's degree at BYU Provo. And then I was offered a job initially as a fill-in substitute professor here at SUU for Pat Pastrip, who was taking a leave of absence at that time. And that got me launched here at SUU. I've been here since '89.
Well, I remember some of that. Now, in '73, when I was still working at KSUB doing news and sports, I started stringing for KSL. And so they got me an old 16 millimeter camera. And so it's familiar to me, because I used to have to put film on SkyWest and send it up there so they could edit it, but it was the old reels. And I would shoot it and send it, and then I would send it on the bus with the audio tape for some of the stories, and then I would call Tom in the KSL news. He did the 10 o'clock at night, and I did the radio. And Charlie Wallace was in St. George when I was here, and almost every night he had a story from me and from Charlie on the 10 o'clock radio deal. But on TV, at that time, they paid $250 for a radio and if it was with a sound, and if you had some video with it, audio tape, they would pay $350. And then TV was $25 for a story that's actually used on KSL. And it's interesting because I remember them using some of the stuff I shot in Zion Canyon, the entrance to the park. I would see that on TV for years after that. So it was like in their library.
Regularly use archive video.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So then I started working here at SUU, teaching mass media, writing, and video production. About that same time, in '85, they opened the Centrum Arena with a nice television studio there, and so at the time I came on, it was the cable station was only known as Cable 9, so I named it SU TV 9 to match kind of like television station call letters a little bit better. And then so in '89 I started my first parking sticker was SUSC, Southern Utah State College, and then in '90 it changed to Southern Utah University.
Right. And they got the satellite truck in about 1980. And that's when I wasn't stringing anymore. But I kept doing radio, but then I went to work for the Deseret News. So that was valuable to me because I got the journalism stuff and I taught most of the journalism classes. And I started doing adjunct in '83. Frame got me to teach the radio class.
So I think I'm fairly accurate in saying this, that there was these satellite wars going on with the K-band satellite dishes that KTV, KSL, and the others in Salt Lake. But KSL was waiting for their satellite truck to come in, and they had a temporary satellite truck on a flatbed trailer, and we did a couple of live shots from Bullfrog Marina and things like that, just to say that we were the first in the market to do a satellite live shot at that time.
So you did work with Peter Zemelka?
He was a photographer up at the main station.
Yeah.
I was a photographer in the bureaus. I interacted with Peter a little bit, and I understand he taught you some things.
He did. Well, when I started in '73, I went to KSL for a week or two, and he gave me a crash course in how to use my 16 millimeter camera. And so I would shoot all kinds of stuff all over. And I remember going, this is more about you, not me. Lake Powell, remember when they were, the guys out there were trying to squat on the public federal land, and they sent the marshals there.
Sagebrush Rebellion.
Yeah, and they sent me out there to shoot it, but what's his name was gone. He wasn't there. What was it, Bundy? Was that his name? Anyway, it was a fun story, and I did live on air, not video, just audio from a motel in Kanab that night. So, but those were fun days, but we were kind of on the beginning of what would become the cutting edge of how things were to go.
Yeah, just live news and be there first and
that
what's going on all over the state. For the longest time, news was only in the Wasatch Front.
Yeah.
And they finally realized that there was news going on in the rest of the state, and they tried to open that up for all viewers.
Well, then Dwayne Cardall called me the Cedar City PR man because I would send stories that he thought were more public relations and not necessarily the stuff that would make news. But Cedar City was a lot littler then. It was bigger than St. George at the time until they really got that going. Well, let's talk some about some of the projects you've done over the years, and you've done a lot. And I know you wanted to talk about your trip to Africa that you've gone on. How many years now?
When I was doing my undergraduate degree in photography at BYU, I always wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. So, yes.
Seems like we're just barely getting here.
Try. Oh, when I was working when I was going to school at BYU, I always wanted to be a National Geographic photographer.
Oh, that
Travel the world and
that'd be great.
take video and video and photographs, and so I never got to be a National Geographic photographer. But in the process, I have done some very interesting documentaries here in southern Utah and actually around the world. And so some of my first documentaries were just here, local stories. And as a college professor, I'm supposed to do either research or creative work. And so I wrote a few papers and presented at conferences and things like that. But my passion and interest and my skills, where I think I can do the best service, is in documentary production. And so I've had the opportunity to produce local stories. The one that we got a lot of good mileage out of was the Wright brothers, who are the Cody Wright, who was a NFR champion or NFR competitor. And I got a call from a friend who asked me, do you want to follow Cody Wright through a year of competition as a saddle bronc rider? And I said, yep. And if he breaks his leg, that's part of the story. And if he wins it all, that's part of the story. And so we followed him through a year of competition and the highs and lows. And it ended up being a great story because he won it all that year in 2008, December of 2008. And then we finished the documentary in spring of 2009. And that documentary actually won what they call the Cowboy Oscar in Oklahoma City at the National Western Heritage and
I've been to that
Museum
there. Yeah.
And Tom Selleck handed me a big bronze trophy that year in Oklahoma City for the best documentary that year.
That's great. Yeah. And I can't believe it was that long ago.
Yeah. And now Cody's sons have now become world champions, and it's an entire big dynasty.
It is like
a little
family business.
A little side story. We got Wilford Brimley, a relatively famous movie star, to voice the narration for that. And while we were, he was a radio fan, and while we were voicing the narration, one of the lines said, at the time the Ed Bauer brothers were a big rodeo dynasty, and that we had written in the script that Cody Wright and his brothers may surpass the Ed Bauer brothers and Wilford Brimley. Recorded a fat chance of that happening, and now it's a full dynasty of the Wright brothers and Wright sons. An amazing story of incredible skills and talents.
Well, they may have some grandchildren coming along.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think
it's a young person's sport, so saddle riding and bull
how
riding.
long can you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was a great documentary, and then I've done some others on the National Guard unit here in Cedar City that went to Korea.
222.
The 213th at the time, and they had some incredible battles, and they went up against major Chinese opposition, and over the years they found out that none of them died, and so we called it the Miracle at Kapyong, and we interviewed those original soldiers and put that documentary together, and that was
it Max Bonzo, one of them?
Max Bonzo. He a lot of his photographs we used in the documentary because he was a photographer. Yeah. And then another one relates to the Southern Utah Museum of Art. The artist Jimmy Jones. I produced that documentary with Jim Ayton as a co-producer and writer, and that's been was a good service. So we literally documented the last year of Jimmy's life as he was pouring his soul into his paintings that he donated to the university. He called us the week before the show opened, the exhibit opened, and the documentary premiered, and he died that week before a week before the exhibit opened. But he called and said, "John, do you want to make sure? I want to make sure you got everything you needed for that documentary." So.
Wow, yeah. I have one of his paintings on board in my office. I have nowhere to put it, but it's in there still.
Wow.
I'm not sure where I got it, but yeah, he was a legend here for Southern Utah.
Yeah, exactly. And I've produced other things for the National Park Service and the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service because of all the public lands that are around here. A lot of informative videos for agencies like that. And then in the process, I've been also a Fulbright Scholar twice for the U.S. State Department, once for a semester in Portugal, and then a second time for a full year in the little country of Swaziland down in South Africa, where now it's called Eswatini. And so I guess that kind of brings me full circle that I was able to go to South Africa and shoot wildlife photographs with students. That's kind of my National Geographic dream to travel and do that kind of thing.
And you still do that every year.
Yeah, we've tried to do it every year. It depends on interest and enrollment. This year in 2026, we didn't get enough enrolled, so we won't be going to Africa. But we did last year with actually some alumni and donors to the university for the College of Sciences. So yeah, so we gone back, my wife and I have gone back multiple times with students and SUU connections.
So maybe talk a little bit about how these documentaries have progressed from when you first started and how you had to do what you did. And now it's got to be a little easier. It's still hard work, but
when I did, one of the other documentaries I produced was about the sport of canyoneering. It's called Canyoneering, the Colorado Plateau, an Introduction to the Sport. And I produced that in 97, 98, I think. And years later, I ran into somebody and I said, oh, you can't produce a documentary about rappelling and swimming and sliding through slot canyons in southern Utah without a GoPro. And I said, well, I produced one before GoPro. I had a specialty mount on my helmet, and I was designing waterproof cameras, housing in order to rappel and swim in those canyons for that documentary. And so my wife asked me, in the old days, you used to carry these huge television cameras and you were carrying film cameras. And now cameras are so small, but actually a lot of news photographers still carry fairly big cameras still. And she asked me, why is that? And well, it has to do with the higher, the 4K and 8K technology is there in very small phones and very small technology. But there's a lot more going on that they need the bigger cameras still. But as far as the technology, it is absolutely amazing. The stuff that's on my phone used to fill up an entire room of editing equipment and sound equipment, and now it's all on the phone. You can shoot and edit very, very good video on your phone.
And who knew when they introduced the iPhone that was going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's just
a backup tool that every journalist has now is their cell phone, their smartphone. And because we have all the other cameras, we have the cameras and the GoPros and things like that. Mm-hmm. But if you need to do it, bust out your phone and shoot the video. There is a little, amongst professional broadcasters, there is a little bit of joke about the difference between vertical video and horizontal video. That professionals still shoot horizontal video, and all amateurs, the social media posters and influencers and TikTokers shoot vertical videos, but professionals still shoot horizontal video.
Not too many years ago at BEA in Las Vegas, I went to a session, and the guy there was a teacher. I don't remember what university. He was teaching the people in the thing that we were doing in the session how to shoot with iPhones. And he had his kids create little films. Either 5 or 10 minutes was the requirement, and he had them do it on their phone.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Micro cinema is a one term. They actually have film festivals of,
and that's what he said.
Entire films shot on phones.
And they had rules and regulations of what they could shoot, and they had to have enough light while they were doing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably been 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Or
so it's an incredible development, and now with people can go live with Zoom, previously with Skype and things like that. The technology has changed totally and made information more accessible, and it's an amazing and very useful thing in our society. There is the trade-off, because there's more information available, more false and more less credible information is now out there, and we as media consumers need to be much more savvy about
fake news,
watching what
fake technology. Huh?
Yeah. And I teach my students that I really don't believe in the phrase fake news. I don't think that. To me, news is factual, accurate information, and so you can't say fake accurate information. So I never use the term fake news together. I say there's fake information, there's fake lies, there's fake this, but news is news. News is real, and there's still organizations out there producing very reliable and accurate news.
There are, and then there are reporters who have an agenda, and I've noticed that it used to be on the page where they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
The letters to the editor. And the
editorials were on
editorials,
one section, and news was another
But
section.
now some of the reporting is becoming editorial.
Yeah.
So I talk about that in my classes too.
Yeah.
And because I say, read the story, and about the third paragraph, they're going to have a quote. And then after that, if they don't, it's their opinion.
Yeah.
And that opinion is, I don't know how we're ever going to control that, but
Yeah. My observation, and others have made this observation too, the news industry, it kind of shot itself in the foot when it began blurring lines between what news was, and in the 1970s, Walter Cronkite was the most trusted man in America, and how far we've come since the 1970s, where the media are the enemy of the people, and there's no accurate information out there. But we blurred lines between reporting just the facts, and then we started analyzing the facts and giving commentary on the facts, and that's what the whole cable news industry was built on. And now we blur the lines between news analysis and commentary and actual facts, and that's where people are criticizing the news media.
right, and they are.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting thing that's gone all the way. What are some of you mentioned Wilford Brimley, who were some of the others? We had in your Back to the Mountain thing, which we can talk on another episode, but you had an actor who was our student, and now he's working jobs in Hollywood.
Jason Wade is his screen name. Jason Wade Nielsen, or Jason Nielsen is his full name, and that's the student that we taught, and he was a combined theater major and broadcasting major, and so when we produced the documentary Back Up the Mountain docudrama, telling the story of the Southern Utah University, I called him and asked him whether he would play the main role, and he gladly. It ended up that he had some family connections, and it was a great production, and helped tell the story of Southern Utah University.
And then we had him back not too long ago.
Yeah.
For was it Founders Day or one of those?
Yeah. So he emceed one of the events that they had during those. So yeah, he's a great supporter of the university.
I had a good time talking to him that night and meeting him. So did you. We were all there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so some other people you may have met, and other Cedar City people who've helped you, and the Bryce Canyon people. I know you did work with some of those people.
What's interesting about working in the media is, as I describe it, as being kind of a pollinator, a bee that you buzz over here and buzz over here. You just meet a lot of interesting people. I had one colleague from another department here on campus said, "John, you know everybody. You've met all these interesting people, and that's what being a journalist allows you to do, and a film producer. You just meet a lot of interesting people, and it's a rich life." So the local politicians, when I was covering more news, we were back in the day when Fred Adams was doing Shakespeare, we were regularly covering Shakespeare issues, and nowadays I just immerse myself in more specific documentaries, and so we kind of dive deep with individuals in the community, and that's rewarding to me as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people get involved because some of these projects take a lot of bodies, don't they?
Yeah. Well, you began asking me about the evolution of the.
Yeah.
When I was working for KSL Television, I was mostly worked in the bureau. So I worked in Washington, D.C. We had a small crew of 2 photographers and 2 reporters. And then when I came out to Utah, it was just myself and a reporter. So I've spent most of my professional career working in a bureau where I did everything. I shot and edited everything and did some of the writing along with my reporters. But as I look back, the projects that have been more successful are when I work with other people. I'm kind of a one-person band. I can do it myself.
Yeah.
But the more successful projects are when I involve others, and I need to do that more often.
Well, you must know a lot of people in Swaziland.
Oh, yeah. We have great friends. I produced a little video last year that was actually screened in Parliament about trying to start a national trails network in the country and help tourism in the country. And so I helped produce that video. So yeah, I'm still actively involved. And this semester, my students and I are doing a documentary about a local Iron County resident who wants to preserve Native American skills. So we're interviewing him about how he knows how to chip arrowheads and make spears and he wants to preserve that culture of Native Americans. And so that's part of our job as media producers, is to not just document, but to preserve history for generations to come.
And there's a lot of it around here too.
Yeah.
And you fell in love with this area, and you could write a book about what hiking trails to go on in southern Utah.
But part of the it has to do with my wife, Ann, who is she teaches in the Outdoor Recreation and Parks and Tourism department here, and her interest in outdoor recreation. So that's part of the reason why we've stayed in Cedar City, because proximity to the national parks and the other public lands and the beautiful areas that we have here.
So do you have a view of the 5 fingers in New Harmony from your house?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Hawaii, so I say we don't have the full 5 fingers. We have the pinky and the thumb, the Shaka view of the 5 fingers from my house.
So you can get part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and New Harmony used to be the apple mecca of.
Yeah, they have the Apple Festival every year.
And so it sounds like there's a story there too.
Yeah, the Apple Festival, Apple Fest is what it's called, and they have that in the fall every year. And but one interesting story, when I was working for KSL, I back in 85, 86, I drove way out in the country through some streams and did a story about elk that were eating a farmer's alfalfa field. And so I video recorded elk jumping over sprinkler pipes and things like that. And years later, I talked to a friend of mine in the New Harmony Valley, and I said, where? And he was the ranch owner of that property. And I said, where did I shoot that story from KSL? And he told me, John, you shot it about where you built your house. So that's where my house is, in that open valley in the back between Kolob and Pine Valley Mountain. It's a beautiful area.
And didn't they move some of the elk out of there?
Yeah, so there used to be a huge herd out there, and they started having accidents on I-15. So they actually, the DWR actually relocated, some successful, some they actually accidentally killed some in the process, but they don't allow elk to be in that valley anymore because of the problems that they have on I-15. So,
yeah, and I remember I was in technical writing, and one of the students in there's brother or something was killed in an accident, and an elk came right through the windshield, and
that's part of the reason why they've removed the elk from the New Harmony Valley.
So that was interesting. I wanted to know a little more about that. But my mom and dad used to go to New Harmony to get apples in September.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a festival going on there, but everything is festivals now around here.
Yeah.
But they would bring them home, and they were some of the best apples you could ever eat.
Yep. There's still a lot of apple farmers in the valley.
Okay, well, I don't know what time. Well, we're getting close. I think that we have another time to do this.
Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
And talk about some of the other projects that I've worked on.
And then when we get YouTube Live, we'll do it again.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Well, John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's been interesting and kind of going back through history from
Reminiscing of old times, yeah.
And the word is out that of all the classes in the comm department, you and I have probably taught more of them, maybe all of them, more than anyone else.
Yep. In the old days, we used to have to cover all of them with much smaller departments.
I remember teaching in the TV studio.
Yep.
And we used to do a voice class.
Yep.
Which I miss doing, and I think that was a valuable thing. But when we went from quarters to semesters, some of those classes got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here with us, John. Jon Smith,
again,
professor, documentarian. I know there's not a word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to have you. So I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, that's great.